it seems fine in what I'm seeing in OBS, but yeah. So that's my moment. What do you think, librarian? Okay, so the book is the moment. Like, the book is, it holds the moment. It's a story, right? It's like a storybook, and the the book is talking to me, the librarian. Like, is that a good enough moment? You know, talk like, where does it sort? How does it work? Type of thing. What kept them apart in the first place? They were like two birds trapped in a cage. Only one found a way out and broke free. The other liked the cage. It's safe and warm after all. So that's where they stayed until the cage came apart and they had nowhere else to go but away. Oh my god, I'm getting such chill vibes to this, and I don't need this tonight. This is gonna be rattling in my brain. This is like this is so Night in the Woods. This is like opening, and just quick caveat. I learned things recently about Night in the Woods. There was a video essay that somebody did about it, and they mentioned something about one of the people who was contracted to work on the game. I wouldn't say one of the devs, because I think he was just doing some of like the music for the game, or whatever. Apparently he had been accused with some, I guess, decent evidence of sexual assault, and that's not cool. So and it's all very yeah. Anyway, I just want to mention that in case anyone's like, does he know? And I'm like, yeah, I found out more recently. Just because the only thing I've engaged with Night in the Woods is I watched Jacksepticeye do his playthrough, and that's kind of a cozy thing for me, and kind of, yeah, because this is gonna sound like such a loser thing to say, but I'm very much like May. Like, not that I have the cool friends in the small town and all this crap. Like, no, it's more like, and I think a lot of people around my age, because I'm pushing 30, I think a lot of people my age can still relate to her anxiety and stuff. Because I don't get anxiety like certain people do. It's not like a mental tick for me of like, it happens sometimes. It's only happened a handful of times. I can remember vividly each time, but if there's like too many people in a store, or I just am having a day where like certain songs or something set me off and like get me to think about stuff that really fucks with my head, then I'll be in a state where I'm more emotionally susceptible, and I get kind of overwhelmed. And like the shapes thing, right? I again, all this undiagnosed. I am not saying that I have any sort of mental illnesses. I don't know if I do. I don't feel like I do. I don't know if it's a normal, rational response to the insanity of the world and the country I live in and all this stuff, and the culture I'm forcibly immersed in, right? Again, the big, deep conversation's not for tonight, but I don't know if it's that, or if there is genuinely like, hey, there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, and if you try these things, or if hey, we actually have a medication for that, which can maybe even you out and cause you to not overthink so much. It'd be cool. But I don't know which one of those it is. But May, I think, speaks a lot to that, because the whole shapes thing, right? It's like I always have to wonder if other people see the world as I see it, not in the emotional sense, or not in the intellectual sense or the emotional sense, but in the emotional sense. That's what I'm trying to say. It's late, guys. My brain, I'm fried. That's what I'm trying to say. It's in the intellectual sense. It's like, oh well, I have the perspective of my race, my economic upbringing, and all these other factors, right? That's perspective. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like, how you feel about looking at people and things and whatever, because I know that can tie into mental illnesses. And I don't say father, right, because he wasn't around. And again, I didn't have a deadbeat dad. I had a response, or I didn't have a deadbeat dad, as people were like, oh, he went out for a pack of smokes. No, he had bipolar schizophrenia, right? And that shit tends to be genetic, right? Mental stuff and medical stuff tends to get genetic, right? So like, that's why I don't like the idea of getting old. Not that I'm afraid to die or whatever. I'm afraid of losing my intelligence, because my grandmother got dementia and and I don't know if my mom's gonna get it in a couple years if she keeps going or whatever. It's that's I think it freaks me out. And I've had for years, like maybe for as long as I can remember, not like childhood memory, but I think coming of age around like 13 or 14, I felt the world was different, around a certain point in my life. I can't pinpoint the exact moment it happened, but the way May describes it in Night in the Woods, of like things just feeling like shapes, and when I look at things, I don't necessarily feel the emotional attachment. Like I'll get sentimental about certain things, but I everything's at a distance, and God, I'm like unpacking my whole my whole fucking brain right now. But yeah, that's why I always have to wonder: is do people see things as things, or do they see them as an amalgamation of shapes? And maybe that leans into my desire to do game graphics and to make assets for games, is because maybe if I put the shapes in here in the computer, right? If I put the shapes in there, maybe it can take the shapes out of here. You know what I mean? Like if I can control the shapes and make them do what I want, and take simple shapes and make them into complex shapes and do that, maybe I'll be able to more contextualize places and things and stuff. Because I even have a hard time with people. Like I'm empathetic to people. I am. I respect people on a personal one-to-one level. I tend, like, unless you're, I try to embody what Dr. King said, which was, judge someone on the content of the character. So unless you're being a dick, I generally don't treat you as a dick, and I start at the everyone is innocent until proven guilty, right? Like, everyone is a victim of the systems we live under and these things we do. And God, I can see this now. I'm gonna cut this out and make this a video on the channel. I can see this now. Like, I can see the upload of me just fucking rambling. But that's the thing, is even people I have sort of a distance to, even like yeah, I love my family. I have a general love for other human beings and animals and things. Like, I'm not one of those sociopaths that that's just like, yeah, fucking yeah. But even then, like, when I look at a person, I see everything and nothing in them at the same time. Like, I see a person and I see the culmination of an evolutionary fluke into one synthesized, like, being, right? It's this one thing that has become this over so much time. And yet, at the same time, to steal from Fight Club, right? You are not special. You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying matter as everything else, right? Like, that's the idea. And that's true. Like, I know scientifically and objectively, we are stardust. We are atoms that have existed since the beginning of time in one form or another, and when I die, or when my stuff that I own, right, whatever, it's just stuff that's in front of me that I use, therefore I own it, it's property. Let's not get into that discussion. But when this stuff is crushed, destroyed, reduced to atoms, when I am, when it's 5,000 years in the future and I am dust as well, and even my bones haven't survived, then that energy just leaves and goes somewhere else, and it becomes something new. Fuck, man, this is gonna be a hell of a playthrough when I play this game, because we're playing this. Like, this is why, because we can have these kind of conversations. But yeah, man, that's the thing. So, I guess the takeaway here of all this rambling would be, if you don't... I try not to be so hard on myself, and I try to place the blame where it should be. So, like, if I don't do the dishes, I should have done the dishes. That's the blame I can take. If I don't do my art and my portfolio doesn't grow because of it, my art portfolio, I mean, not business-wise, I mean art. Like, if I don't do something artistic, and then I don't have a right to complain later and say, oh, well, it's not artistic. Like, well, whose fault is that? I didn't sit down in my free time and do it. It's like, that's what it is. But at the same time, I don't put a lot of my mental health on myself, because it's not really it's my responsibility. Yes, like I try to believe in, like, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility of how you live your life. And it's not my fault that wages suck. It's not my fault that fascists are running around. It's not my fault that people are crazier and crazier every day, and that and I don't mean crazy in the derogatory sense of like, oh, this guy's schizophrenic or whatever. Like, I mean crazy in the sense that people are losing the ability again to relate to each other. Like I said, that empathy and that starting at victimhood and working from there and saying, okay, well, you are a victim, and how do you react to that as trauma? And I should really read more psychological shit. I haven't done much reading on certain theories of psychology and stuff, maybe not as much as I should have, but you know, I dabble here and there with certain video essays, and I try to learn as much as I can. But anyway, point being, the takeaway would be, don't burden yourself, you know, burden street, right? don't burden yourself with more things than is deserved, right? We all, as you know, human beings, have some level of guilt, some measure of inbuilt regret, right? Like I regret what my country did in its history. I regret what my people at the, you know, like white people, right? To group all white people together and say, okay, white people in America did slavery and, you know, bigotry and all these other things well into the 20th century. But that's not on me to, like, it's not on me to take the blame for that, but it's on me to fix it so that it doesn't happen again, right? So, like, your burden is about you and how you can help other people, and that's every time I'm at the grocery store, right? For instance, so if there's like trash on the ground, I go to Aldi a lot, and there's only like 4 guys there. I'll, you know, if I see there's trash on the ground, and I do this at any store, anywhere, I try to help people out whenever I can, and especially at Aldi though, there's like nobody around to help because they're all busy. There's only like 4 or 5 guys. They keep it a lean skeleton crew over there, and they work efficient. They work fast. These guys are always doing something. They are not lazy. Those guys work very hard for their money, and they should definitely get paid more. Everybody should be getting paid more. We're getting screwed, right? Not going into the economics talk, but fuck, man, these wages need to be going up. But I'll pick up trash, and I'll see, oh, somebody put the rice away on aisle 3. It's supposed to go back on aisle 1, and they were just lazy and didn't put it back that way. And again, I don't try to judge people. I don't know if the person that put the rice there, maybe they have a disability of some sort, and it's hard for them to walk, and they didn't want to go back over there or whatever. At that point, I would just look to somebody to your left and be like, hey, man, I can't walk very well, but I realized I don't need this. Can you go put this back, or just let them know, you know, to put it back? Something like that. That's the responsibility. That's what I'm talking about. That would be somebody's burden, is that, you know, don't just leave it there and, you know, assume someone will get to it. Have the basic respect to let someone know that, hey, there's an issue and I couldn't fix it. Can you help me fix it? Okay, cool. Like, there was a lady that I helped in the store today when I went to Aldi. She was like, you know, sir, can you, maybe she had seen me move, because I, like, whenever I get the milk, it's on like a pallet, and people will leave like the last 2 rows, they won't pull it forward. I hate that shit. It's one of those things where I just hate it. So I pulled it forward, and, you know, and maybe she saw me do that, and then later I'm looking at, you know, my list, and she said, excuse me, sir, can you help me with the, you know, because she wanted to reach up, but she told me she had broken her arms and she can't lift them very high. Her arms weren't like broken in a cast, but they were, I assume they were on the mend, or she had some sort of long-lasting disability from that happening, and she can't lift her arm all the way because, like, the shoulder or something, right? And of course, you know, of course. And in those moments, like, or even when I'm like returning a cart that somebody left in the middle of the parking lot that's like 200 feet away, and I'm like, you know what, I'll do it anyway. And I'll think, you know, and then while I'm doing that, maybe somebody's getting in my way, and I'm like trying to hold it in. I'm a passionate guy. You guys know this. I get a little pissed sometimes, but I try not to unload on people too much, because it's like, you know what? If this was easy, anyone would do it, right? But to be, in my eyes, a good communist and a good anarchist and a good anarcho-communist, you know, that's why I repeat to myself is like, I can be the change for the name of communism, because a lot of people hear communism and they think of the gulags and all this evil, oppressive stuff that the Soviet authoritarians did, right? Because there is a big difference between communism, as in theory, and what the Soviets did. The Soviets did with Lenin, Stalin, and all this. They did some good things for their people, and then for a subsect of their people, they did some very bad things to them, and were total human rights violations, and complete fucked. And So I am an anarcho-communist. I'm not a federalist communist type of guy where it's like one party and the party shall rule and tell people, because that's not even what Marx wanted. Marx didn't even want like a whole party rule thing. He wanted like there to be multiple networks all going back to each other. And anarcho-communism kind of leans towards more of that and kind of cleans up some of Marx's rough draft, which was sort of what the Manifesto and Das Kapital were. Anyway, point being, that's what I think to myself is, you know, if I'm doing something that helps the community with no thought to my own feelings, or like, it's not like, oh, I did this and I feel good about myself because I did a good deed. It's not about me. It's about them. It's about somebody else. So maybe you think about that. And maybe to wrap this back to what we're talking about here, if these two people had considered how each other felt, then maybe they wouldn't have ended up in the cage, and they wouldn't have, you know, gone away from each other for so long and had to reconcile that later. You know, maybe that's life, you know? Maybe that's how we all relate to each other, and we need to not see each other as just shapes, and we need to all kind of have that ego death and realize we're not the main character, and that it's okay if when the battle lines are drawn and the charge against the palace gates happens, you know, to go back to Night in the Woods, you know, talking about one of the constellation stories they did, maybe it's okay to be the first man to die on the hill, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, as many as it would take to get somebody else to have a better existence, you know, out of it, like the outcome to be positive, you know. And that's not to say we should all just go firebombing everything right this minute, you know, I'm not saying exactly that, but, you know, something's got to change. If you get enough people together, you can get that change. I'm not talking legislatively, I'm talking in the action, not in the talk, in the action, right? And maybe it won't do anything. Maybe me being nice to everybody isn't going to help, but it's certainly not going to hurt, you know. So I don't know. That's enough philosophy for now. I think that'll be where I clip the video right there. Yeah. Anyway, back to the demo. I like this little book guy. I like his design a lot. Little squiggly, nervous mouth and the kind of eyebrow thing he's doing.